Hello and welcome to Consciousness Chronicles. The intention of this podcast that Millie and I have created is to bridge the gap between the spiritual novice and the conscious veteran. So wherever you are in this journey, you are still human, and we are here to embrace all that this human life has to offer. And we hope that this will expand your awareness through our personal stories and show you that being human on this journey is just as important as living a life from a conscious space of love. Welcome, my dear. I'm so glad we're doing this again. It's so much fun.
Oh, I have a blast. It's like they're eavesdropping into our normal conversation.
Yeah, right? Right?
It's like they're in the room with us while we're chit-chatting
this,
like
this
little
is how we
girls.
live our life. So welcome to our life.
Yeah. You're just sitting there and watching two friends talk about everything.
Now, this is our little jar for those of you new. We have all these subjects in here. We probably need to add some more at some point. So I'm going to let you pick, reach in. I wish I could figure out a way to magically do that. And what did Millie pick for us today? Okay, needs the glasses on this one. This is a lot. Oh, speaking woo-woo and breaking down the spiritual labels, my favorite subject. Aren't they all my favorite subject? Excuse the crappy handwriting.
It's not crappy. Ooh, that's okay. You're gonna have to start. I know
Breaking
your
down the
rule. I know
spiritual
your rule, but you
labels.
need to start. You just need to start
Well,
with this one.
first of all, the big one that there's so many that I don't know. I feel this brings us back to what I just said in the intro. We're on this consciousness journey. We're on a space of expanded awareness where we're opening up to ideas and thoughts and being in the flow and connecting with the universe on a very aware level. And sometimes the term spirituality or the term love and light doesn't necessarily offer you the expanded ability to do all that. I think it's very limiting. I think a lot of these labels are very limiting. That's why I know you and I went back and forth on this when we were choosing the title for this show. It's not a spiritual show. It's a show
Right.
about being human, but we're humans that are expanding our consciousness. So that's kind of how we came up with it. So, like the whole love and light thing, it's beautiful to say, but I think it limits you because there's some dark things out there that we need to be aware of. There's some negative stuff that you can't just go, oh, I'm only love and light, I'm only positive things, and shut yourself off from all that, because I believe sometimes it can even open you up to more of that negative stuff
Yeah.
coming in. Like, all right, I'm gonna take you on then, I don't know. What do you think?
What I feel is that a lot of times when people hear spirituality, it's like you're bypassing the human experience and being all new agey and all that. And I choose not to bypass the human experience, but I'm also not going to dwell on all the negative shit that happens in my life, because if I do that, then I can't see the beauty and the gift and all. And I think that's where people actually get stuck in the labels, because they're like, well, if I'm spiritual, I have to allow, and I shouldn't be angry, and I shouldn't. Screw
And you
that. You
shouldn't
know
drink,
what?
and you should be vegan, and
Oh, yeah.
you know,
There's all these
yeah, there's
rules that
some
people make
rules.
up.
You make your own
Uh,
rules. You do what's right for you.
yeah. The only rule I have at this point in my life is that I am going to be as imperfectly perfect as I could possibly be.
Mm.
Because there's nothing I don't fit in any kind of class or any kind of labels. I
You're
just,
just mic dropping every episode now.
or
Ooh,
what?
mic dropping.
You know what I mean. Like,
That's
I don't,
that sums it all up.
yeah, maybe, I don't know, but that's what it's the rigidity people find in every class, whether it's political or religious or any kind of belief system. eventually everything gets stuck inside of a box. Okay, here's this box, and now I made these rules, and you have to follow this, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. Why? I mean, if I feel like midday going somewhere and I shouldn't because, I have to stop working or whatever, it's the same thing as just being serendipitous and living life. I mean, we all have responsibilities, but it's spirituality is not a one size fits all,
Mhm.
right? You have to you have to know what works for you. You have 3 children, right? I
Yeah.
have 8. And they were all raised in the same household, and all 8 are very different. And the reason that they're all very different is because I have been very different in all the stages of their growth. People go, "Oh my God, they were raised in the same household." You hear this all the time. One turned out to be great, the other one turned out not to be. You know, it doesn't matter. I feel that spirituality is just like that, having all the children in the same household and never knowing which one is going to take which direction. Spirituality, motherhood, parenthood, and spirituality or religion or politics is not a one size fits all. And when you start labeling, oh, he's the middle child, and that's why he's this way, or he's the youngest child, and that's why he's that way, or she's the oldest. So no, it's no, there's not one size fits all. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and isn't that what us humans like to do sometimes? We need to categorize and
Mhm.
label so that it fits into whatever construct we've created in our
You
head.
just said it. You just said it, what we created.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not, there is no, I mean, rules are created by humanity. Everything is created by humanity. You know, think about it. One of the greatest things I always think about is when you look at a map from like I love maps. I have this thing about maps
oh my
and I
God.
look at all the
I do too.
and I look at all the lines and I go, who created those lines? And you have these borders keeping people out, and you have these borders keeping people in. It's created by man. We were gifted this incredible planet. Oh boy, I'm going to go on a tangent here. We created this beautiful planet, was created for us to use. And just like spirituality, we put borders around, and we put, constructed around all these lines and fenced. And it's all about fear and all about control. And those labels that we put in spirituality, they're all about control, just like the plan.
Yep, yep. How do you what's your thoughts on unity? Because there's a lot of talk in the spiritual community on unity as well.
I'm drawing a blank.
It's okay.
I
Um,
Yeah.
it is, I feel like it's for me a balancing act because I'm like, okay, so we're all supposed to be one. We're all connected.
Mhm,
I
mhm,
get that. But then we're all on very individual journeys.
mhm,
So there's the balance. And sometimes that becomes challenging because when you're working through maybe something a little bit, darker, shadowy aspect of yourself, it's hard to see that connection. Or if you see some ugliness going on in the world
mhm.
and you're feeling very high vibe and centered and grounded, it's really hard to feel you're one with the world. How do we make sense of that?
I love the word community, not because it's unity, but because it's coming together in unity, community. But what I find is there are no two people that are alike, just like children, just like the world, just like everything. We all have our individual path. I feel that we have to connect to people that are like-minded because that's how we grow. But we also grow by the dichotomy, the difference, the polarity. You don't know where you stand until you have somebody that comes at you with a different. And how do we deconstruct? How do we get How do we get rid of the borders? How do we get rid of the labels? I don't think it's possible. I don't, we're human and we're driven by ego. It, I don't, I mean, I believe that we can make communities and we could come together with like-minded individuals. I don't want to be with a sociopath. I've already done that. I don't, I mean, like when you say become one, then you got to take that kind of personality and try to work around it. I don't want to. I choose to I choose to find my tribe. I don't know. And the same goes for the labels. They call me woo woo, call me crazy, call me insane, call me whatever you want that's going to make you see me however you want to see me. That's you. I remember when the word new age was coming about 20 years ago. Oh, it wasn't spiritual. It was, oh, she's new age. It was like, okay, new age of what? What was the new age of what? New age of belief. I mean, nothing has changed in the world except our belief system. We're exactly the same, but that was a new word, you know? And now unity is another word. I mean, they'll just keep making up these words that are to fit whatever the vibe is or the fad is at the moment. The reality is we're all on this journey, walking each other home. I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I am not responsible for your thoughts about me, because you touched on that and what,
Mhm.
as you were just speaking now, and I've seen that meme before, and I just love it because it's like I'm not your thoughts about me. I'm not responsible for that.
Mhm.
That's all
Mhm.
inside of you. So
Mhm.
deal. And then the whole woo-woo thing, how how have you come up, because you've been on this spiritual consciousness awareness journey for your whole life. How have you dealt with people when they come up against your woo woo and just think you're like of the devil or something? How do you deal with that?
With humor.
That's great. It should be that way, I feel.
Sarcasm. It's like, no, well, to be honest, I mean, for a long time I was kind of in hiding. I wouldn't tell people that I saw things because I was ashamed because I was gonna be judged. Um, Now it's like, you know what? So I don't know if you know the story of me going to Home Goods for years. If I would had to go buy a candle in Home Goods, have I told you the story?
I didn't tell it again. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so for the longest time while I was living in Nashville, if I was coming from work or if I would have to like I was driven, I was guided that I had to go buy a candle at Home Goods over there in Nashville. And I knew that the reason I had to go buy a candle wasn't a candle. I had to go to the candle aisle and give a reading. I can't countless readings for people in the candle aisle. It was that place. I gave free readings. Like it would come and because
Ah,
I feel that the reason that that would happen is because our smells are probably our strongest memories. And
mm,
most people, when they smell something, they remember a loving moment or their parents or their children or some place. The reason smell, especially the fragrances of candles. So I just never failed. You know, I have a friend that go, "Oh, you're going home because you're going to give a reading," and I go, "Yeah, I guess so, because I don't need any more candles." But it was like that was the place, and I can't tell you the amount of times that somebody would label me and like, "Oh my God, you're a medium," and I always joke, I'm a large medium, or whatever, you know. And but when I would give them when I would open that up, you know, to them, it didn't matter whether they were Christian or Catholic or Jewish, because it was in a vulnerable moment, they received the message. And it didn't matter whether they were Latin, black, white, whatever. At that very moment, it was like we're connected in the candle aisle and Home Goods. And all boundaries, all labels would come off. Now, when they would retell that story to whoever they were going to, I'm sure that there was judgment or whatever. I I feel that the reason that people are more receptive when I say things like that is because I don't come out seriously. I bring humor to it. And I don't know. I mean, I guess because I'm sarcastic and I just say it and hey, it's on you. I say it and you either own it or accept it or don't. That's on you. I don't I don't think about it, you know. I am very cautious um with certain people. I know that their belief system is very, and I will speak to them in whatever language they need to be spoken to. So if I know that they have a cross or something, I will speak to them as is this an angelic, message. I'm mindful of who I'm giving a message to. I feel that we can all get along if we are more mindful of where that person's beliefs come from. You know what I mean? Like it becomes easier for them to accept the message and not feel like a witch is coming at them in the middle of a candle aisle. It's I don't know. I think that we need to get rid of these labels, but I don't feel that it's ever going to happen. I mean, I'm not being negative, but I also know that we've been constructed and created in a way that our ego gets in the way. And unless the ego gets out of the way, we are able to accept the messages. Because aren't you, I mean, you've gone through this with your family, and I went through it with my family, and how much of me, um, I don't care anymore. I just don't care. I really don't. I used to care a lot, and I just don't care. I don't.
I something came to me as you were sharing, and I thought I was at a place of not caring, but you know what I've noticed in the past few weeks, since I've been sharing my book with people, I have a little bio on the back of the book that talks about me being intuitive, psychic, oracle, all that stuff.
Mhm.
Um, I work with a healthcare provider to do photography. And I had this amazing conversation with this RN one day as I was waiting for someone to show up and sharing with her about my cancer journey. And I said, "Oh, I have a copy of my book in the car." Ran out and gave it to her, wrote it to her. And she said, "Oh, thank you, thank you." She's very appreciative. And then the next time I came back, I was placed in that same area of the building where she was. And we barely spoke. She was very, in a polite way, very standoffish.
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh, wow, she's judged me now." I knew it. I felt it.
Yeah.
It wasn't something I was making up. I could feel the
Hmm.
judgment. And I also gave a copy of my book to this man I had a beautiful conversation with at the post office when I was mailing some out. And I wasn't going to give him a copy because he said, "Oh, so you and her husband found a church here in town that you wanted to join?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, we don't. Our lives are very fluid, and, we're not a part of any church or anything." So I didn't want to give him a copy of the book because he said that to me. Because I'm like, I know he's going to turn it over and he's going to read it. And he goes, "Who's this witch that comes to the post office all the time?" So I'm in the midst of that struggle. I don't want to share the book with my neighbor who I've fostered a beautiful relationship with because her daughter at 19 died of brain cancer. And I'm like, my thoughts around my whole journey are not the average
Hmm.
person's way of thinking.
Right.
So I will not give her a copy.
But
So I'm still in hiding.
but you are not doing a service to yourself being in hiding. You are here to help those who are willing to accept it shift into a higher perspective. It's not your job to figure out how they're going to receive it. And that's the hardest part about accepting and loving who you are where you are. And you're getting there. That's the problem. And not it's not a problem because problems, it's a challenge. It's a challenge in accepting where you are and how you are, and walking your truth. I mean, authenticity is one of my favorite words. Authenticity is owning all of you in spite of what the world labels you at.
And I'm still siloing some of that.
And you're still, but you're getting closer and closer. I mean, the
Right.
past 2 years, I have seen you evolve so much, and that's okay. It took me so about I had just moved to Asheville, and I opened up a blog in 2000. It was January 11th of 2011. It was 1111. It just happened to be that day that I decided that I was going to build this WordPress blog, and it was called Moments with Millie. And I used to write poetry there, and I would write, I started writing spiritual stuff, and yeah, I didn't have that many followers, but it was something that I had always wanted to do, a blog, and I didn't know how to do it, and I learned how to do it on my own, and I did it. And it was basically the muses about living up in a small town up on the hill on a mountain in Asheville. And then one day I would share it, and then one day a woman reached out to me, and she had 5,000 followers on Facebook. At the time, I had maybe 50 people that were friends on Facebook. And she said, I've been following you on WordPress, and I would like to know, I can't pay you because I just started the site. It's called the Master Shift. Have you ever been on the Master Shift?
Mm-mm.
She's got millions of people following. And she's like, I would really love to use some of your articles on my site. All of a sudden, I had this panic come through me. 5,000 people, they're going to read, and then they're going to judge me. And then what am I going to do? I can't hide once it's out there. I took a little bit, and then I answered her and I said, it would be an honor. Thank you. Um, I was like dying inside because I had just started opening up. My mother was gone. My second husband, who was very religious and his own belief system, was no longer, I was not allowing anyone to dim my light anymore. I was just coming out. And so she posted, and she kept posting different ones. And and the Master Shift grew. I feel she was one of the Christine was one of the most pivotal people that actually believed in me without even knowing me, to really take my words and put them out there. And she even, like, later on, a few years later, she took some of my poetry, and she would actually make these reels with somebody reading my poem. And it was
Oh
like
my
I
God.
would shake every time I would see it come up, and she would ask me permission. But she believed so much in me that, because now there were 5,000 people that to me seemed like millions of people, I started to feel like, okay, I could write a little deeper about these things. And that's how it actually opened me up. But just like you, Linda, every time it would come up, I would be like, okay, I had maybe 100 people following me on WordPress, and now there were all these people following her stuff and her page. And it I had all these doubts. Oh my God, people are going to think I'm a witch, or oh my God, people are going to think that I'm evil, and oh my God. I mean, this was in 2011. So, we're in 2024. A lot has happened since then, and a lot has stripped from me, that I have allowed myself to get rid of all those labels. And either you like me or you don't. And if I say something to somebody at Home Goods, or anywhere, or at a gas station, you know what? Just like the man that I think we talked about it in the last episode, that came to the beach and gave me a message. You know what? I needed the message, and maybe they need that message. And it's not for me to stop the flow of spirit from giving them a message that maybe they've been praying to have. So when you give that book to someone, you don't know what part of that book is going to shift them, because it's not about the cancer. It's about believing. It's about your strength, your perseverance, and how you were able to hit the walls of death and come back and say, I want to live, and this is how I'm going to live without excuses. So, and I know this is a process. It's a huge process, but I've seen your growth in the last few years. So give yourself a break because it comes with the territory of lighting the path. And whether it's evil or, you know, witchy or whatever label, another label that's going to come along the
Yeah.
way, or you're fucked up or whatever. You know what? It's like Wayne Dyer. It doesn't matter. I don't care what anyone thinks of me, because the only person that I need to worry about is how I think. You live your life based on your beauty and your knowing. You help people. You're here on your journey. And if somebody else gets on your path and you're supposed to give that book, you can't, no, woman, no, no, you cannot stop yourself from giving the gift of your words, because you don't know who is going to change from it.
Yeah. There, it'll be interesting. I did give the guy at the post office a copy.
Have you seen him
So it'll
since
be
then?
interesting next time I go in and run into him. But it kind of brings me to that persecution wound, witch wound from many
Mhm.
lifetimes ago,
Yeah,
which has so many layers to it, and it's so hard to work through. And to me, this is directly related to that because I'm afraid of being persecuted. I'm afraid of being shunned from my community. Um, so yeah, it's
you and millions of other
yes,
people.
yes, it's a process, and I can take baby steps.
Yeah.
Like I'm fearful as fuck to give the guy at the post office a copy,
Mhm.
but I walked in there and did it anyway. Now I'm fearful of going and mailing something,
Yeah,
but I will do that and just push through it. And
I'm proud of you.
that's all I can do because it's got me really emotional.
I
So
am so proud of you. It's not easy. And don't think that, I mean, I just recently gave a book to somebody. And I knew when I gave this woman my book that it might be a moment that she will not like me after because of my spirituality in the book and her spiritual beliefs. And I didn't hear back from her for a week. And yesterday she sent me this long text saying that even though we were not on the same religious path, that she actually admired my ability to heal and my ability to share my story, and that she had even a deeper love and appreciation for me. You know what? We don't have to agree, but we can agree to disagree and move on and actually see it from a higher perspective, that this is my journey. This was your journey. You actually wrote about it, and it doesn't have to be something that people agree, you know? But I do know that with every person you give, there's healing in you, because you're letting go of that deep wounding that comes from judgment. Oh, and I know about judgment. We've all experienced it. You're a magnificent human being. And the way that you see the world, it's so unique and it's so open and it's so beautiful. And it's come through in your journey. Part of that cancer story and what you went through was holding on to so many lives in there that needed to be healed. And you did. And you know what? You wrote a book and it's beautiful and it was a bestseller. And to be honest with you, you're not responsible how anybody else is going to take it, Linda. Your
no,
job is just to show up.
those people that agree to disagree,
Yeah.
I love them. I mean, they're really helping me on this journey, and I appreciate them so much. We have friends. um, we have friends who are going on a cruise with to Greece who are very different minded than us, but we are such good friends. She's read my book. She's a doctor and she appreciates it. She doesn't agree with it, but she read it and bought it and appreciated it. And so touching to me.
And she's able to see how somebody healed herself on a different manner of what she was educated to believe. She doesn't have to implement those parts of the book and how you healed yourself. She is able to look at you with new eyes and new appreciation, and she did. And kudos to her, because most people in the medical field might not agree, and that's okay. But you healed
Yeah,
yourself. You're here.
they're still good friends of ours and read my bio on the back. I know it and is not judging me. It's like, and people like that make it easier for me to heal that wound of persecution because
Mhm.
they're showing me there are people out there who can agree to disagree and be good people.
I love you so much, all parts of you, especially ooh, that's my favorite part.
Yeah, it's my favorite part of you too. I love all the parts though.
I do too. I
Ooh,
love you, sweetheart.
I
And
love
listen,
you.
your book, who you are, what you stand for, how you process it, how you help others is shifting the world one level of energy at a time. And in that, you're also healing yourself. That's how I heal too. That's how we all heal.
We all
So,
we all are doing this and yeah, fuck the labels.
cut the labels.
Yeah,
I love you.
love you. Thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you.
Bye bye.